Once you train yourself as far as a habit, you don't even need to consciously think about it. You look across the street, you see the sign, there's some blur, you clear it up. If you reduce the diopters too much, now you're disrupting that habit. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's too blurry, you can't use it anymore. Now you have to build a new habit. Welcome back. So I feel like we talked about this before, possibly more than once, but it continues coming up. It continues coming up in email questions. It comes up in the Facebook group every so often. And it's a topic of how much should I reduce my diopters? And of course, if you're a member in the Facebook group and if you've read the rules, you know that we're not giving diopter specific advice. You can figure that out based on having a good understanding of what diopters mean, what the diopter bubble is. I'll try to link to that video here below. Once you have a pretty good idea of the impact of focal plane changes on your vision, you know what you need to adjust. However, people get a little bit excited and want to reduce as much as soon as possible. And what I always want to tell people is there is no benefit in reducing too much too quickly, because the only thing that the reduction does is it shrinks the distance that you can see clearly to. So blur gets closer. And the reason you want blur is to give yourself stimulus, if you know how to practice active focus, to push past a little bit of blur to clear vision, and on an ongoing, continuous basis, that active focus helps improve your eyesight over the long term. So there's really no benefit in shrinking that bubble too much. And I know we've talked about this, but just it's really important to consider the benefit of a smaller reduction, right? Because if you're here and 0.25 diopters takes you here, that's perfect, right? Like your life is exactly as it was before, as far as distance that you can see clearly to. You work a little bit more active focus, you get back to where you were. You're not impacting the quality of the distance that you can see to. And that's all you want. You don't want, like, the number is just a number, right? Like, don't worry about the number. The journey overall is fun. Like, once you get into it, you're having fun noticing the change in how you see things overall with and without glasses as you reduce diopters. So it's not about how fast can I get to this lower number. Take a deep breath. The journey is part of the fun. And looking at it as just, okay, so I'm making a small reduction, I'm making a small increase of blur closer to me, and I'm giving myself the opportunity to push past that. It's also something that you have already built a habit to. You have built a habit to certain distances. You know, if something is challenging to read at the end of the hallway, if you make a small reduction, it just gets a little more challenging. If you make a bigger reduction, now all of a sudden it's too blurry, and that habit that you built of you turn in the hallway, you look at the thing, you try and clear up the text, is now no longer functional the way it would be benefiting you. The same as when you go outside. You know, you're used to, once you train yourself as far as a habit, you don't even need to consciously think about it. You look across the street, you see the sign, there's some blur, you clear it up. If you reduce the diopters too much, now you're disrupting that habit. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's too blurry, you can't use it anymore. Now you have to build a new habit. You have to rebuild all the habits of all the things in your usual environment that gave you a blur challenge. So there is no benefit. There's genuinely no benefit in adding too much too quickly, or rather reducing too much too quickly. The benefit is in just forget the number. Forget the number as far as a qualitative thing. There's no quality to the number. -4 isn't worse than -3. It's a different focal plane. It's a different refractive state. Yeah, of course your vision is worse with a -4, but you have to get that out of your head as, I'm worse, I wish I was X amount better. You want that 0.25 diopters, or if you're really high myopia, then maybe you want the -0.5 diopter of just a little bit of incremental change to keep you in that range, right, where your habits continue to work and the reduction continues to be effective. Because considering that this is kind of a long-term practice, habits is what makes you successful. That's why we don't do eye exercises. That's why we don't do any of that stuff that would detract you from living your life. I want you to be that autopilot that you're running on. I want that to include the stimulus that improves your eyesight. So that's what you want. So I hope you catch this video. I hope you catch this video before you send me an email asking, can I drop half of the diopters of my glasses, which is another email I just got again today. And I've gotten this kind of email hundreds of times, literally. I'm just like, don't, right? Like people, and the problem is when people ask that question, the first thing that they're saying is they don't understand what diopters mean. They don't understand how diopters affect their eyesight. Because if you do, then you know dropping half the diopters means your blur horizon is a whole lot closer than it was, which makes day-to-day life a lot less fun for no beneficial reason. You're not skipping any improvements. You know, if you're into running, and today you can run 1 mile, trying to run 5 miles tomorrow is not going to get you to a 5-mile run 5 times quicker, right? Your body still needs to adopt through every single stage. 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile, 4 mile. Same if you're lifting weights, same if you're losing weight or gaining weight or whatever you want to do. You can't skip it, right? Trying to get the quick fix is what got us in trouble in the first place. And that's it. This is the only reminder. Well, it'll probably happen again. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I'm gonna have some new stuff coming soon. I'm working on it for you that might be more interesting also because we're gonna involve some of the Facebook group. So if you wanna keep up on that, subscribe to the channel and I'll see you in the next one.